What is up, AFC North football fans, and welcome into another edition of the AFC North Roundtable, powered by BetUS. The wild card weekend is in the books. We had two of AFC North's finest squaring off in that wild card round, and only one emerged victorious to head to divisional round weekend, the best weekend of the year. But tonight, we will be recapping everything we saw between the Steelers and the Ravens in the wild card round on this episode of the AFC North Roundtable. Without further ado, let's bring in the fellas, starting, of course, with the man who moves on, Sam the Man, looking fresh. He's got his belt. He's got his shades. We will see if he is donning that attire next week. A lot to talk about when it comes to that game as well. We'll bring in the man who is on the opposite side of the belt and the shades, and that's my man, Mark. And then we'll bring on my man, Zay. Zim will be joining us in just a little bit. He's stuck in traffic, but I got a feeling he looks forward to coming on here and talking about what we saw in wild card round as well. Before we dive into what we saw in the wild card, fellas, let's real quick go take a peek at BetUS for the lines on the divisional round. And right now it's crazy. Here are the lines. Every single game, fellas, there is a team favored by at least a touchdown, except for the battle that pertains to one team in this division. The Baltimore Ravens on the road against the Buffalo Bills is currently a pick'em. It is a coin flip type game in the eyes of Vegas and BetUS. It's wild when you consider that all three other games are massive spreads in terms of one team just being heavily favored over the other. This one is projected to be so tight in Buffalo that there isn't even a decided line on the game. It's currently at a pick'em. If you have a decision as to how you think that game is going to go, make sure to take advantage of the promo code we have going on for you over at BetUS. The promo code is YouTube150. That'll get you 150% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next two after that. All right, let's dive into what we saw in the wild card round, fellas. It was a ton of blowouts. There were 6 games. Only one game was really even remotely competitive for the full duration of the football game, and it was not the battle between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, they trounced their arch rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were up 21-0 at half. They'd go on to win the game 28-14. And there's a lot of talk surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers after this game. Of course, a lot of talk surrounding Baltimore and their potential chances of going and making a run here towards the Super Bowl. Let's start with Zay here. He is the only one in the room that has a bipartisan view of what we saw in that game. Zay, I guess for starters here, were you shocked by the performance from Pittsburgh? I think we knew what Baltimore had going into that, right? We knew Lamar, MVP favorite. We knew Derrick Henry and what he's able to do on the ground, and we already saw what he was able to do the last time Pittsburgh and Baltimore squared off. But was there anything about Pittsburgh in particular that shocked you in terms of them just kind of getting wiped here?
I think it would have been a little bit more shocking if they didn't end the season the way that they did. It kind of felt like that's what was going to happen. I think it's even more shocking that when they get to facing actual teams, like I'm sure Sam's going to bring up, how it just seemed to crumble. George Pickens didn't get involved. I believe he was 0 catches, like 1 target all the way through like the third quarter or fourth quarter or something like that, which was kind of weird to me because it's like, you want to win the game, you probably should try to get George Pickens involved. So I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily shocked. I mean, if you listen to previous episodes throughout the year, I was very high on the Russell Wilson and Mike Tomlin train just because when you get into the playoffs, you know, it comes down to coaching and your quarterback. And it's not like Russell Wilson had a bad game, 20 of 29, 270 and 2 touchdowns, but the firepower is just not there. When it comes to the playoffs, you're going to need some firepower. And unfortunately, the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't have any of that. And also, I'm still looking. Has anyone seen TJ Watt? I'm pretty sure he's had like 0 statistics in the last, 4 games I saw. Pretty bad for your defensive player of the year, better than Myles Garrett. But I'll let it go.
To that point there, Zay, were you shocked at all by what seemed to be a lack of effort from Pittsburgh? I mean, we know in terms of firepower, like you just mentioned, they don't square up with Baltimore. There's not many teams in the league that do. But were you kind of shocked at the inability to really get anything going at all on both sides of the ball?
I think about that clip that you see with Russell Wilson going up to Cam Hayward after the game and say, hey, look at me. We got this. It's almost like they sensed it, you know? So I am I shocked? I guess 2020 is, it's hindsight's 2020, because we were talking before the show started. If you were to just look at the screenshots, this is right on par for what they do, is to get blown out in the first round of the playoffs. So partially I'm shocked, because you would have thought an AFC North battle would have been a lot more competitive, especially in a wild card round. But Lamar Jackson and them boys are on a mission. So I'm going to take the latter and say no.
Mark, let's talk about it. In advance, I apologize for the way the season ended, because I know in the beginning of the year you were really high on these Steelers, and for about 2 months you were dead on accurate. But all of a sudden we get around Thanksgiving, December time, things started to trend downwards. That led itself into the playoffs. It seems to have been a common theme for these Pittsburgh Steelers the last couple of years. Just your overall thoughts in general here about how the season ended.
I just want to talk about that part a little bit, because I got a message from Zim as well in the Twitter thing saying we kind of was meant to, we told you this one was going to happen, right? Am I meant to sit there at fucking 10-3 and not be happy? Like, is everyone like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not meant to ride the waves up and down like, well, we're going really well, we can win the division, we're doing this, doing that, and then we eventually fall off. That's what I freaking hate about social media sometimes and the fan base, is that, we played bad, we lost the game, and we collapse. We all know that. But just because it happened before, and they'll probably say it again if we go on 12-win streak, or probably, you're going to lose at the very end. I'm not going to expect there and sit here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on the show or having it on my YouTube channel. I'd just sit here and go, oh, this season's over. It's all over. It's all over. It's like, I'm not going to do that. So it was a very fun time to be 10-3. We did have a chance. We did fall off. In this game last time, my biggest thing is you simply cannot allow 299 yards rushing. That's a joke.
Best defense in the league, though, right?
Well, they are. I get it. I'm telling you right now, they are up there as a good defense. But on that game versus the Ravens, you cannot allow 299. There was a breakdown in communication that the players didn't want to show up. Some players were sick. Some players weren't giving it their all. Some players were trying, and Cameron Hayward were trying. But this defense did not show up. And yet again, we do fall out of the playoffs with the 21. Maybe we're a good side who can beat good sides. But maybe right now, when Mike Tomlin, because everybody wants to fire Mike Tomlin, which makes no sense to me. Absolutely no sense. And also, the reason why it makes no sense is the fucking Rooney's, the owner of the organization, has come out and said, or, in the locker room said, we're not going to fire him. And people in the fan base still go, we should fire him. It's wasted breath. It's wasted breath. He's our coach. Okay, you got to figure out what's going to happen from the top, then the OCDC personnel, then figure it out. So the loss is bad. All respect to Sam and his Ravens. Some Ravens fans out there I can't fucking stand. There are a few out there that are really, really egotistical. I'm not saying I don't know if Sam just bought his championship belt yesterday, but some of the blokes out there are already thinking it's like, are we going to win Super Bowl? You got the Bills next. We weren't the best team. We should have played better. The Ravens got it done. You ran over us. You can't win football games if you're going to allow 300 yards rushing.
I got a question for you, Mark, before you get to Sam. In terms of the Mike Tomlin thing, I understand partially why fans want him gone, but I want to know your aspect of it. It's like the standard that is the Steelers, right? You guys always like to talk about the Super Bowls and all of this stuff, but is he a great coach? You know me. I'm a big Mike Tomlin fan, but he's not producing to the standard of Steeler Nation. So it's like, do you move on from that and get a new guy in here to try to reach the standard? Because I get the grass isn't always greener, but if this is an organization that every other word is Super Bowl this, Super Bowl that, he ain't living up to it.
I can answer this really easy. It's really, really simple. Most of the fan base right now, I'd probably say 70% really want to get rid of Mike Tomlin, right? They want to fire Mike Tomlin. It's all they talk about is saying fire Mike Tomlin. But if you actually watch and listen to what the Steelers are doing, they're not going to do it. So why would you waste your breath? That's my first point is that. Now, are you able and right to be entirely frustrated of the 6 playoff losses in a row, the 4 or 5 bounce outs, the not winning a playoff game in 8 years? Yes, 100% you can do that. But there's no real answer as a fan base, as a supporter. All we can do is talk about it. We can't control anything. And the Rooneys aren't going to get rid of Mike Tomlin. They're not. They get him. The Steelers get a chance to go to the playoffs. Now we lose them all. We've got to fix that, figure that out. But to me, it just doesn't make too much sense. Keep complaining about it or whatever. But I do understand if people want to write their characters and say Mark's a Looney Tune from a Steelers Nation Australia. Doesn't know what he's talking about. He's never been to Pittsburgh. And it's like, well, we should fire Tomlin. I think same way back to you. I think the people who are saying fire Tomlin over and over and over and over need to listen to what the organization is doing. The organization is going to keep Mike Tomlin. They might move on from DC. They might bring back Wilson or go to Fields. They're probably going to get rid of Najee. They're going to build the O-line again and go again and build up D-line. It's a bad loss. Only one team can win in the NFL. Mike Tomlin is a good coach, but his message could be going a little bit stale. But at the same time, I always come back to the first argument you can't move past is the Roonies won't get rid of him. And that's it. So why do we talk about it?
Let's take it piece by piece here, Mark. You had mentioned you're sitting at 10-3. How can you not be happy? No one's denying that. Unfortunately, this league, it's all about how it ends. And I think the Minnesota Vikings fans are in the same boat as you are, where you win 14 games, you're having an amazing season, and then the 2 games that count the most, Sam Darnold doesn't show up, the offense doesn't show up, they score 9 points in both games, and all of a sudden you look back on it, and I doubt any Vikings fan really cares at this point that they won 14 games. So you're looking at Pittsburgh's situation. The problem here is there seems to be a routine theme where they really have a hot start to the regular season. You go back to Big Ben when he went 11-0, and all of a sudden the wheels fall off. So in your opinion, why is it that they get to this point of the year and they look completely different than they do through the first 2 months of the season?
That's a really good question. I'm going to answer that in a few ways. I think this team possibly might not be maybe one of those top 5 teams or top 10 teams in the personnel wise. We talked about receiver 2 in the offseason, and I tried my best to get around the hopium and say, we got this person, that person. I like Austin. They didn't really use Mike Williams when they traded him for him. They had George Pickens, and he was out for a few games. But in the personnel wise, and I know we have like one of the highest paid defenses, but personnel wise, maybe we haven't got the guys for this. Maybe they're just checking out. It could be that Mike Tomlin and this team is getting them so far to the playoffs and they just can't rally together to go and win, because obviously, look, there's TJ there, and people do say, well, they haven't won one for TJ, but then he didn't turn up as well. So maybe this comes down to a lack of talent, lack of skill, lack of preparation. I don't overly know that it is a running theme right now. Like, we're getting, it's 74, and I'm not saying these excuses, 74 points in the last 4 or 5 games in the playoffs in the first quarter to 0. You won't win like that. You just won't, right? So, look, I know people might want to fire Tomlin and get rid of it, but if you do you start fresh? I said the other day in one of my videos, there's bigger problems than just firing Mike Tomlin, because you're still going to have those problems. Bad secondary, bad communication, bad defense, O-line. Two of our left tackle and right tackles ran over each other, swapped sides and blocked no one. Dan Moore is going to he's gone. Broderick Jones needs to move over and start playing better left tackle than right tackle. Like, there are so many things that need to happen. We had bad offensive line. Wilson did okay, and the sacks were there, but yes, there's always that collapse. So I get that frustration from the Yinzers out there. I don't know how you solve it, unless you got to get someone else in the room to help Mike Tomlin. Maybe Mike Tomlin needs another coach or a leader to help him out and not just be the guy, the voice in the room. But yeah, man, it's not like, I'm not saying, look, the Ravens played well. Ravens, it's like, to me, it's like Ravens, Chiefs, Bills now. They're top quality sides. And we versed in the last few playoffs was the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Ravens. They're in everyone's way right now.
Is it a GM problem? Because I agree with you. I think it's a personnel problem. You guys just don't have the firepower. That's why I think I get both sides of the Mike Tomlin thing, but it's like, if Mike Tomlin had the Ravens' talent, for instance, could we imagine what that could be like? I mean, it could be a GM problem.
We went to the playoffs last year with Mason Rudolph, and he's now a second, nothing against him, but second quarterback with the Tennessee Titans. They do stuff like that. They do give the Steelers Nation hope, but I feel like a lot of Steeler Nation, they think every year we can win the Super Bowl. But realistically, we weren't going to win the Super Bowl this year with the personnel they have, and we haven't got a franchise quarterback like the Ravens do, like the Chiefs do, like the Bills do. This matchup was the Bills versus Ravens will be friggin' entertaining, because you guys have been building around Lamar. You went and got Derrick Henry. I just got Derrick Henry in my fantasy draft. That's how I'm getting through stuff, right? Like, you guys have a good team like that and building around personnel. So there is a lot of problems with the Steelers, but I think the fan base just goes to fire Tomlin. They fire Tomlin, and they walk away and go, I've done my job. When there's more to it than that. There's many more problems than just that.
Mark, I understand there's more problems to it, but the Steelers have had 3 head coaches since 1969. Caleb Williams is about to be on his 3rd head coach sometime in the upcoming weeks here, and he was drafted in April. So my question to you is, I understand there's more problems at hand, but when does when does the dam break? What's the breaking point to where it's finally time to say, I understand Mike Tomlin's a great coach, but it might not be the greatest situation for the Steelers currently?
I honestly think the way the organization does things is probably 2027 when his contract runs out.
Okay.
Like honest to goodness, fans don't want to hear that because they don't want to be stuck there, but they want to keep saying the fire Tomlin thing. But I honestly think that because that's just the way that the Roonies don't fire people, man. The first coach they fired in like 55 years was Matt Canada, and we held on to him for 3 years. And Matt Canada was like, good mates or friends with Tomlin and stuff like that. So they just don't do stuff like that. That's why I check myself back into reality and try and think what the Steelers have been doing since I've been watching for 24 years. They just don't do it. I'd be shocked if tomorrow they come out and said, we're going to move on from Tomlin. Here's another new guy. It's not going to happen. And you have to then as a Steelers fan, you just got to go with it. If you support it or don't support it, you just got to deal with it. And I know it does suck because it's not fun. Like I still don't like. I'm not sitting back and being happy. Like it's fun sitting here watching a game getting smashed by the Ravens. 24. What was it down the bottom? 28-14. Thanks for putting that there. By the way, it's great. It's fantastic. A lovely reminder. It's not fun like sitting here, but I'm not defending Tom. I'm just seeing what the Roonies would do. And Chef said a great thing. And the Roonies aren't going to sell the team. They bought the franchise for $1,500. They made a million bank, right? There's many problems like that. Let's go back to reality is they're not going to do it. But yes, they got to figure something now. They got to change something. Like you can't have TJ Watt being quiet. I think he had no stats on that game at all.
For the past I think it's 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
The same.
In your opinion, say the Rooney family tonight says, you know what, we've made our money. We've had a great run here. They sell the team. Do you think the new ownership retains Mike Tomlin or do they fire him and go in a new direction? Because it seems that the only argument that Steelers fans have in retaining Mike Tomlin is the fact that the Roonies just don't want to fire Mike Tomlin.
You asking me?
No, I'm asking Mark. Like in your
I thought I was going to say.
Yeah, outside.
I thought I was going to say. Sorry.
No. Outside of just the idea that, well, they're not going to do it, so what does it matter? If you had to go take the podium and defend Mike Tomlin right now as to why he should retain the job, what would the argument be outside of the Roonies just keeping him?
So here's another thing, too. I've heard this idea about trading away Mike Tomlin. The guys who want to fire Mike Tomlin want to trade him away, and they want to get back 2 first picks or a second. Does that not mean he has fucking value then? If the same people are saying fire Tomlin want to trade him away, they still want value back. If you think he's that horseshit, I'm swearing. A lot. This could be demonetized. I don't even know. But if you think he's that fucking horseshit, right, and you want to trade him away, then why do you want picks back? That makes no sense to me. But I understand your question. He's saying a new ownership comes in. If it were to happen, which it won't, but say it did, I think they would. I think any team would take on Mike Tomlin because he's got a winning record. He gives the team a chance. Maybe you just need other guys in the building to help him out. Maybe because I'm stubborn too. Maybe Mike Tomlin shouldn't be so stubborn and let other guys do their job and coach in their lanes and get things moving. Like I think sometimes they're very conservative on offense, and sometimes they play a lot of zone defense and very conservative on defense. Mike Tomlin says we don't live in our fears. Sometimes he does. It does feel like that. The 4th and inches probably should have went for it. So if a new ownership comes in, you take on Mike Tomlin because he could have a job in a heartbeat. The Bears will take him. The New York Giants take him. The Raiders will take him. Anyone would take him.
I'd take him.
So
Mark, if it were up to you, then would you take him?
Who, Mike Tomlin?
Yeah, if you became the owner tonight, you're keeping him. Okay,
100%. I support him. They just didn't no pieces around him and just different philosophy on players got to play too. Different philosophy on I think on our Steelers. The last few years, they just seem like they just play back so far they give up. There was a play 2nd and 20 where the Ravens should never got that. They played the zone defense. It was Elliott sat back. Donnie Jackson didn't want to tackle. Minka jogged to the tackle. It was bad. Like there is some really bad, and that comes from the head coaching. I understand it. Comes from all that kind of stuff. But it was really terrible in how bad they played. Tomlin would have a job anywhere else in the NFL in a heartbeat if he were to be cut tomorrow. So it's just to me, and I know I've spoken a lot, but to me overall, there's more than just saying fire Tomlin. But the easy scapegoat because Yins has got to do pitchforks and torches somewhere. And I'm not built that way. I'm already over the game. I'm like moving on. I'm getting ready for mock drafts like Zim is soon, man. I'm ready to go next year. So, but they got to blame someone. I think collectively you blame a lot of people. Everyone probably besides you don't blame Chris Boswell. You don't blame the punter. You don't blame Cam.
One last one for you, Mark. Hypothetically, January 15th, 2026, we're sitting on the AFC North Roundtable and the exact same outcome happens again. Is it then time to consider a new direction, or is this just something that's going to continue to unfold for the foreseeable future.
If it were to happen again in another first round exit, you'd think the next day, because the Rooney's already made their mind up, you think the next day they probably would, hey, Mike, maybe it's time we say shake hands and we both leave. I've always also put into consideration maybe Mike Tomlin, maybe he just wants to leave.
Right.
Is it all? People always think it's about his fault. Maybe he's like, man, I'm trying to do my best, and these players just aren't doing what's getting the message, or it's not working. It could be a mutual understanding where they shake hands and walk away. I'm happy with that, man. I'm a Steelers fan, so if Mike Tomlin goes to the Washington Commanders, I'm not going to go out and buy a W helmet. Like, that's weird to me. I'm going to stick by my team and go for the Steelers. So, but we do have the tradition, and we do have the standards, all these slogans that you guys out there can throw back at us, and we're fine. We say these things, living our fears and all those kind of things. Just right now, it's just frustrating as a fan right now, because they're going to keep him, and some fans have to deal with that. But then we've got to try and get past that first playoff round. Just can't. But the worst part is getting blown out every time.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, though, and then we can move on. I think Tomlin, if they're going to part ways from him, it's going to be in that 2027. That's a great point. Great point when this contract runs out.
Last year or 2026, and they both say thank you. Look, people forget about all the good things he's done too. And that's why I kind of dislike this culture of social media, and then people call him a fraud and a clown, and the Yinzers want to, But if they walk past him, they probably ask for a handshake and a high five and a photo. So I don't get that kind of thing where, and they also wanted the Cameron Hayward as well, saying he was trash, he was terrible, he had his best year in 2024. So with Mike Tomlin, he did some really good. He's been a Steeler for us for 18 years. He's that's the guy say, that's my quarterback, that's my coach, man, that's my guy. I think he's funny, and he's cool, and he's getting us a chance to get there. We just can't figure out how to win in a playoff game. That's can't do it.
Before we hear from the winning side of this game, my man Zim has gotten out of that terrible. Are you in Cincinnati, Zim? Are you located in Cincinnati?
No, I'm in DC.
You're in DC. So you finally gotten out of that terrible DC traffic just in time. We were about to transition to talk about the winning side of Steelers Ravens, but you're in just in time to add your thoughts about the losing side. We've been talking about Pittsburgh for the last 20 minutes or so here, kind of discussing how it's been pretty much the same old song and dance here for the last 6-7 years, where every year you got a competitive team in the regular season. At times it looks like maybe one of the best teams in the NFL during the regular season. Then the postseason rolls around, it's the same outcome. Your overall takeaway from what you saw from Pittsburgh, not only on Saturday afternoon or evening rather, but of course overall here over the last half decade or so.
It's a testament to say that coaching definitely matters, because you see, with them having the stability with Tomlin, that you're not going to lose. He's one of the greatest motivators that the sport has ever seen. But it also shows you, if you don't have one of those guys, one of those top quarterbacks in this league, the way that it's set up, like that Buccaneers team that got there with Dilfer, those days are over.
Right.
Like, if you don't have one of those guys, I don't care if you got the best offensive line, best defensive line. It's just too hard. It's too many things that you need to happen to work in your favor. Tomlin's biggest mistake that I think he's made throughout all this time is like a rapper. I said this to somebody the other day. He's like a good rapper that can't pick out good beats. And the beats would be like the offensive coordinator. So, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm 2024 Lil Wayne. I'm whatever rapper I'm Nas right now, 2025. But I still can't figure out how to pick out the best beats. You could rap your ass off, but what's up with your beats? And Matt Canada is a shitty beat. You know what I'm saying? And Arthur, whatever the hell his name, Arthur Smith or whatever, that's a shitty beat. If he picked out the right OC, I think you probably see him at least advance and then bolster up the defense. And maybe the theory of you got to have one of the best quarterbacks, maybe that take his cook. But without that, like the offensive coordinator part of the beat selection, I just can't see it.
By the way, I feel like I'm watching a Christopher Nolan film when you hopped on. I'm loving the new camera. Very cinematic. We got the new camera from Zim. We got the broadcast headset from Zay. We're stepping it up over here.
The level up. The level up.
All right, Sam, let's talk about it, baby. Dominant win. Before we talk about the Ravens themselves, going into it, because I personally, even though the Bills were hosting a rookie Bo Nix, they haven't won a playoff game in forever, I still had those playoff nerves. You are going into this game against a division rival Knowing how Pittsburgh was playing heading into it, were you nervous at all, or is this exactly what you expected?
I had the postseason nerves, but I think the familiarity, having to play the team 3 times in a row, well, not 3 times in a row, but 3 times in the season was definitely something that I was thinking about. But I'm a matchups guy. I'm all about matchups, so I was pretty confident going into the game. But definitely postseason, you're nervous because if you make a mistake, remember the first meeting, we had 3 turnovers, we missed a bunch of kicks. That could easily sway the game another way. So that the nervousness was there with that, but I wasn't really worried about the 4-game losing streak with the Steelers either. I wasn't that type of guy. It's just all about, who they're playing out there, what their game plan was going to be. So that's where the confidence was coming up. And also we're playing at home in Baltimore. So that was a big thing for us too.
Lamar 16-21, $175, 2 touchdowns, also ran it 15 times, a ton early on. It felt like there was one drive where they literally ran it with Lamar 5 consecutive times. But then, of course, the highlight, in my opinion, Derrick Henry, just no ability to stop him in this game. 26 carries, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns. The last 2 times he goes out against Pittsburgh, 160 plus in both outings. A lot to be impressed with here, Sam, but above anything, what impressed you the most about the Ravens' ability to get this one done easily?
I was impressed by the running attack. I mean, coming into this game, I thought that it would be the Steelers' offense that would cause them to lose this game, but running for 299 yards against the Steelers' defense is ridiculous. It's unheard of. So I was coming into this game thinking, okay, when we get on AFC North Roundtable, I get to talk about how Russell Wilson performed poorly, but he threw for 20 completions and 2 touchdowns, no picks. He was okay. It was the run defense of the Steelers that let them down. And I'm very ecstatic that it went down that way because of the Wilson-led Steelers that played the way they did on offense and the Steelers defense played to the way they normally do. This is a different game. So it's definitely a testament to how great the run game of the Ravens is, but it also points out there may be some flaws with the Steelers defense. And I'm looking at Patrick Queen being that top guy. He's the middle linebacker there. He's in control of where the defense goes in the given situation. Those read option plays, the Ravens were killing them, and they were not prepared. And Patrick Queen looked like. Speaking
of those, Sam, can I ask you how did we not stop that? Like
what? 13 runs in a row?
No. The option plays.
Yeah,
like the Steelers normally take care of business and crash down on Lamar. You know what I mean? Like you absolutely they cooked it that way.
Yeah, it was bad. I don't know. It looks like that from what I saw in the last couple of games. It looks like Pittsburgh really struggled when it came to misdirection and motioning guys and having that communication when it happened. So the Ravens motioned a lot in that game. They really moved receivers left and right, had them talking, but it really boiled down to the Steelers were just terrified of Lamar running the football. And a lot of linebackers are really keying in on Lamar Jackson and giving Derrick Henry plenty of space to cut back inside when he runs outside or cut back outside when he runs inside, stuff like that. So it really was just
it was like you're playing street ball or something like that. I was like, oh, Lamar's going to keep it. I'm going to run for 7 yards. Oh, no, actually, no, Derrick Henry's going to run for 7 yards. Like it was they couldn't stop it.
TJ Watt missed 4 straight tackles on that one drive where it's like, bro, he don't have the ball. Like, what is you doing? I put the blame on TJ Watt on that part.
Why did they never adjust to crashing down on the
That's
run?
What I'm saying.
They kept on crashing down on Derrick Henry. And the thing that I've been saying is Josh Allen, Lamar, I feel like my theory is that they're preserving their runs for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I know coming into this game, he's keeping it. 3rd down, he's keeping it. Why did they go after Derrick Henry for like 4 quarters? Why didn't you saw how they would go read option, but then they would go and hit Derrick Henry, and I'm like, that's cool. You know, you can play the guessing game, but go get that guy. Go get Lamar. I think they were so terrified.
And we normally do that. We normally go after Lamar Jackson or whatever. And James
Debo
so Harrison
terrified of Derrick Henry getting the ball. Yeah, that they just were like, we're gonna let Lamar do his thing. And whenever the linebacker was inside, Lamar was like, yeah, I'm bouncing outside. If the linebacker, if they had the spot right there, he's like, well, shit, I'm gonna juke you in the hole. Like it was nuts, bro.
It was good for the Ravens to take care of that. But even James Harrison said on Twitter, he put a tweet saying, what are you doing? Like, why are you crashing down on the running back? And then Lamar Jackson's wide open to run for 9 yards. And Zay's right. They ran 14 plays in a row.
You know, Sam, you go back to when your Bengals played these Ravens. They had the run game shut down. And you said, if you're going to beat us, it's got to be through the air. And then Lamar made that unreal pass down the sideline that went for, 75 yards that broke the game open. But a Cincinnati Bengals D that I think we can all agree wasn't the most impressive this year was able to mitigate that running attack from the Ravens, which many people can't do. That was shocking here because it felt at times like Lamar was literally jogging for 7 yards. He was just waltzing.
I'm gonna tell you the key to that though. you have to get Derrick Henry off the field. So if you watch all of them games, think about it. The Bengals are up 21-7.
Right.
Derrick Henry's not on the field. It's Justice Hill. So if you go look at the first game, he ran for like 60 yards or something in the first 4 quarters. The next time he played, he ran for like 40. He gets the overtime run, but it's also Lou Anarumo who has like a weird little scheme that he runs too. But you have to get up on him. If you don't, Derrick Henry is going to get it's like a hitter, bro. You give him 30, you give him 25 chances to go and swing the bat. Like, bro, even if he's hitting 200, one of the motherfuckers going out the park.
Yeah, that's why when the coin toss, they elected to receive because they needed to get that lead to keep Derrick Henry off the field.
I thought that was a mistake. I thought it put the defense out there to muscle up, but because we gave the ball back anyway.
I feel like Lamar really it felt like we saw the Lamar that we were expecting all year. Like Lamar was looking to run that thing. Like this is the first time I was watching the game, and I'm like, damn, this is what was thinking that Lamar was going to do. And Zim, you said it just a minute ago. It's almost as if they were like trying to not give any defenses any idea of what's going to come in this postseason, and they just forgot that Lamar can run with his feet because he's been throwing the ball so well. It's going to get real scary if Lamar is like, nah, this is a design pass play, but I'm just going to take off and run it. Like y'all going to it's going to be tough.
We'll talk more about it in the preview episode later in the week where we preview the divisional round. But Zim, you nailed it. Josh Allen ran it 8 times for 46 yards against the Broncos. They have not been running him. Lamar ran it 15 times. That's why I see the over-under of this game this upcoming week at 51.5. Everyone thinks it's going to be a shootout. I do not think so. I think it's going to be a possession-based game where both these teams are going to want to run the living hell out of the football to keep the other guy off. You're starting to see flashes of this, by the way, from Jaden Daniels. You saw it against the Commanders the other day, against the Bucs the other day. It is the most frustrating thing on earth to watch because I don't know how you stop it. You get past the line. I don't know how you stop Lamar. I don't know how you stop a guy like Jaden Daniels, and he doesn't have half the line, it feels like, that Baltimore has. These guys are so difficult to stop, and it's back to the point we were making earlier about the Steelers. If you don't have one of those guys, man, I mean, you're kind of shit out of luck unless you are Detroit, who has an absolute loaded offensive weapons that allows Jared Goff to stand back there and have 155 passer rating. You're going to have one of these guys. Now, one of the guys that Sam, that the Ravens did not have was Zay Flowers in this game, and he did not practice today, meaning in all likelihood, we're not going to see him against Buffalo either. Is it over-exaggerated, the impact that Zay Flowers has on the offense? Because obviously you would love to have him. But do you personally feel that he's a necessity in order for the Ravens offense to be at their most potent level? Because what we saw on Saturday, you would never have known Zay Flowers wasn't out there.
It depends. Well, are the Ravens having success running the football? Are the Bills scoring at will on offense? If the Ravens have to throw the football to get the job done, yeah, he's a huge blow. But if the Ravens are continuing to have success running the football, his absence is noticed, but not necessarily required for them to get the W. So the Ravens need to do a good job running the football, getting that lead, and then kind of taking the pressure away from Nelson Aguilar, Tylan Wallace, and Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, if you go back and watch the original matchup between the Bills and the Ravens, shockingly, despite the fact that Derrick Henry ran for 200 yards, it felt like the chunk plays in the pass game were ultimately what did the Bills in, because Derrick Henry runs for an 87-yard touchdown the first play of the game. The Bills are bailing out on that run all game, and Lamar kills him over the top. So we'll see if that has an impact. But like you just mentioned, the Steelers could not stop the run at all, led to 300 yards. And you don't see, the only time I can remember a comparison is when Harbaugh's Michigan Wolverines last year ran the ball, I think, 60 times against Penn State, didn't throw the ball once, and walked away with an easy W. You rarely see in the NFL the ability to run the ball 13 consecutive times all the way down the field.
They ran it 50 times.
It was unbelievable. I mean, it was just
39 minutes possession. It's like we got trounced, dude. We got fucked up.
So, Zim, I'll go to you here. We talked about the Steelers side of things here. In your perspective, just watching these Ravens, is this the most dangerous team left in the playoffs, in your opinion, based on what you saw Saturday?
I don't know if I say most dangerous. I would say the most complete, I think, in the AFC side. See, I feel like the better team, the top-heavy NFC teams, like the Lions, I know they have a lot of injuries, and then the Eagles. Like, those are the two teams that I just think that they're better. I think they're better than all of these teams. But as far as, like, the Ravens made a lot of corrections, right, from week 11 and on. But there are still question marks to me with the secondary going up against, particularly Brandon Stevens. If you have a quarterback that can process and get the ball out, see, that's not what we're going to talk about that in the preview game. Like but as far as like, dangerous, I hate that guy. But Pat Mahomes with the referees and the scrambling ability, like define dangerous. Josh Allen, you know what I mean? Like everybody's dangerous right now. And I'm gonna tell you one thing with the Texans too. And I know this isn't. It's just part of your dangerous part. That secondary, their cornerback duo is disgusting. Stingley and Lassiter. I was at the Dolphins Texans game or whatever a couple weeks ago. Stingley closed the game out single-handedly from a cornerback position. 2 picks. They tried to go to Tyreek Hill, closed them out. Did the same thing last week. They had 4 picks or whatever. I mean, if you get down on that Texans team, D'Amico Ryan starts calling up all types of stuff, and they got Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter. They're dangerous too. It's just they don't have the weaponry of the other 3 teams, I think, in terms of offensive, danger. I guess the Chiefs aren't really that dangerous, but everybody's got something. Everybody's got their own type of ammo, I guess. And this is going to be a phenomenal group of games coming up because it is some really good matchups.
Yeah, after everything I saw this past weekend, I think the most shocking, most surprising thing was what Houston's defense was able to do in that game. I did not anticipate that type of game happening. Zay, give me your thoughts watching that game Saturday on the Baltimore side of things. What was your biggest takeaway there on them moving forward based on what you saw?
I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Just Lamar looking to run the ball. I think that's going to be the difference maker in terms of how far they go because let's be honest, we all know when the Brights it's still yet to be determined on how he's going to, this is probably as big of a game until they face the Chiefs. Is he going to crack like he does in previous years? You know what I mean? Throw that interception when he shouldn't do it. He's been so well. It's like he's due to have a mishap. And I think he gives himself and his team the best chance by just running the ball. It's so much more different and it's so much more harder. Like you said, how do you stop it? With the running game and how do you do all that stuff? The only thing that you can't stop it, you can contain it. It's speed. You got to have speed on the defensive side of the ball. I just think that
you got to get up on them. You got to get up on them, bro. If you don't get up, you have to. If you do not get up on the Ravens, it's over. If they get any bit of a lead, I don't care who it is, bro. It's over, bro. Once he takes control of the clock, they're not going to give you that many possessions. He's just going to run. And Lamar, and then once Derrick Henry starts cooking, then Lamar going to come back and cook. And then after that, you're going to just see nothing but open wide receivers because now you got an extra safety in the box. You cannot let them get up. If they get up, they're cooked. If they get down,
you got a shot. Because then Lamar's going to overcompensate. He might throw a couple different passes. And that's it. If you get a lead on these guys, you will give yourself a chance. But if Lamar come out in the first drive, like we just see, it just looks easy right now. Nothing looks complicated on the offensive side of the ball for the Ravens right now. And I don't know if it's the most dangerous team, but it's damn sure the most scariest team because they are rolling.
Mark, your thoughts. Obviously, you had a firsthand encounter with this on Saturday afternoon. Your thoughts on Baltimore moving forward here?
Look, they got a good chance if you can control the ball with 38 minutes and run the rock like they did. They just carved us up completely. The first drive they had was a 95-yard drive. We punt the ball really well to the 5-yard line. Now you can say the Steelers defense stinks, but they're moving on all cylinders. The option to do I keep it as Lamar Jackson? Do I give it to Henry? Who am I going to get? They get 7 points. They play some much better defense now too. I did see that from week 10 or whatever, scrappy defense last 11 weeks or whatnot. First in every category. That's insane. That's in the movement of that. The team's moving in the right direction. Powerhouse or whatever you want to call it, or crazy team. Yeah, definitely can beat the Bills, can go on their run. And if Lamar Jackson isn't making mistakes and playing the game the exact same way he did versus Steelers, which was option or quick passes or whatnot, and get the ball down the field, yeah, they can shock anyone. They can go and do the whole thing. It hurts me to say, but as a football fan, I wish my team was doing that with Najee and Justin Fields, but that won't happen. You know what I mean? Look, if you're a Ravens fan or a football fan, That was insane to get 299 yards and run down. Time possession, like you guys said, could go the under 51 because they both want to possess the ball. That's what John Harbaugh wants to do, possess the ball, get 38 minutes. And they could have won so many more points. It could have been 35-42, but it was 28-14 because they had 38 minutes. So this team can go. They can go the whole way. Do we see a Ravens versus Chiefs matchup? Possibility. Do we see Bills versus Chiefs? Do the Houston Texans surprise someone? Ravens right now have to be up there.
I hate the Ravens, but I hate the Steelers even more. And I tell you what, seeing 299 get drafted on the so-called best defense and seeing them pound it 15 times in a row made my night.
You know what's funny about that run defense? Maybe it's because they have to go up against Lamar and Derrick Henry every day in practice. But the Baltimore Ravens have the number one rush defense in the league. They're the only rush defense allowing less than 90 yards per game. So it's not just the offensive side of things. It certainly is that defense. I mean, what did Najee Harris have in that game? 17 yards rushing. And I know they were down early and weren't really willing to run.
We had to pass. We couldn't run anymore.
But early in the game, I thought it was like Tomlin. He wants that grungy game that he always has with the Ravens where it's like a bunch of turnovers. And it felt like he was trying to make the Ravens like make a mistake. And I was like, no, you idiot, go get the game. And you know how I just had all those comments about Russell Wilson? I don't even feel like he gave him a shot. They were running the ball ineffectively early in that game. And
11 rushes.
I was like, what are you doing? This is the playoffs, bro. Every possession counts. And I thought he wasted like 2-3 possessions before he said, oh, shit, we're down major.
Yeah, and we should have probably went for the 4th and inch. The very first pass, though.
Oh, my God, that was nasty.
You got to catch that. Like, that was like the very first pass, very first play of the game, and we dropped the ball, and it's like, oh. It's 8. I know it's 8 yards.
He didn't even think about that 4th inches. He didn't even think about it. He ran the punt unit out there so fast. And
that's why I understand the Fire Tomlin crowd with how conservative he is and all this kind of stuff. I get it. I understand that. But yeah, they're definitely different game plan. Tomlin wants to make these close games and win it near the end with a 3-pointer or a 7 or whatever. But we haven't got Big Ben anymore to go and do that, right? So he wants to try and keep it close and force turnovers. But then once we're out of like 14 points, we just can't catch up.
Did seem like they were waiting for Lamar to make a mistake. He did not. Sam, I'll end it with you here. The narrative, of course, around Lamar Jackson has been the playoff struggles. We did not see that on Saturday afternoon, but we really didn't see it either last year in the wild card. Then they got to the divisional, and it wasn't as good. Or excuse me, they were in the divisional last year off the first round bye. It wasn't the best performance in the first half in particular. They got it done, and then we saw what happened in the championship game. Have you seen enough by now? Are you not worried about that potentially rearing its ugly head again, or do you still have to give it a bit of time here before you're fully bought in on the Lamar playoff experience?
Oh, I was never a proponent of it being an issue. I was always in the realm of he's kind of in a situation that Josh Allen is in now. I mean, the team is on his back last year. This year, you have Derrick Henry to really take the focal point away from you, and teams are really focusing on stopping Derrick Henry, so it takes a load off of Lamar. Just, okay, all I have to do is take it and run or make the correct read. I don't have to be Superman in this game because my team is loaded. Josh Allen is in that situation where, okay, I have to do everything to give myself a chance to win. And so far, he hasn't crumbled under pressure. We've seen Lamar crumble under that pressure. So I'm very happy that we have Derrick Henry. It takes a load off of his mind, I think, and that will pay dividends moving forward. But right now I'm thinking, hey, the train is rocking. Let's keep that thing chewing, and we'll take it all the way if we can. But yeah, I'm not worried about Lamar being cracking under pressure unless we get into the situation against the Bills or the Chiefs where we're tied with 2 minutes to go in the game and we have to make a drive, and I'm not going to make that crucial mistake. But so far, we haven't had that. We've had big leads, and we're just trying to sustain those leads.
You brought something up that kind of sparked a thought, so we'll end it with this last topic here, and I'll start back with you here, Sam. Who's got more pressure on him on Sunday afternoon, Lamar or Josh Allen?
Oh, man, that's tough. I would say probably that's a really tough question. I'm leaning towards Lamar, but Josh Allen's at home and he has to get it done. Okay, I'll say this. In this game, I'm going to give Lamar having the most pressure because he has the better football team, right? But if the Bills make it to the Kansas City Arrowhead in the AFC Championship, then the pressure's 100% on Josh Allen, way more than it would have been on Lamar if he made it to the AFC Championship. But I would say the pressure's on Lamar. He has the better team. He's kind of the favorite right now, but as you mentioned, it's kind of a pick 'em right now. I'll lean towards Lamar more because he has that playoff choke moniker more so than Josh Allen. But it's close.
Tim, you ready to jump off the page here? What do you got for me?
I'm here to let all the Ravens fans know, including you, Sam, of all of you, you got the weight. This is the most pressure out of any. And I ain't talking about just this weekend. I'm talking bowl. Wow. You talking about 3-time MVP and all that other stuff like that. If you don't win it all, after all the injury excuses from years before, after all the coaches are now gone and all that stuff, leading the league. Remember, you had a super team last year. That's what I started off the season. That was a super team. Number one defense, you can say whatever you want. They led the AFC in Pro Bowlers and All Pros. They came back again this year and did it again. I can't see a world that will go where this dude ever has a roster that's this lit. And if it is, whatever. Mind you, all the CBS, NFL, go look on your timeline. Everything is already set it up for Josh Allen to be like, well, I was just in a rebuild. Diggs is gone. We just went and got Keon Coleman, just a couple guys. Like, they've already set it up for him. Like, if he loses, Lamar's team had a MVP candidate at running back. He had Kyle Hamilton, Linderbaum, all these all pros. Like, bro, major pressure. And then walking out of it, let's just recap too. Playoff win last year against a rookie CJ Stroud, and then a win this year against a less than Steelers team. That's not really winning over shit. Like, I'm telling you, the pressure after this game is enormous. They're gonna let Josh Allen walk away unscathed. I promise you.
Zay, agree or disagree?
Oh, yeah, I don't even think it's a question. I think Lamar Jackson has the most pressure, and this is probably the biggest pressure that he's ever felt in his career. Like Zim mentioned, three-time MVP, best season a quarterback has had, up there with the greats. Balls in his home court, or where you're at the Bills this week. But if he does not get it done, right? Like, if he throws, let's just say he goes 2 interceptions, 300 yards, and 70 yards on the ground, they're not going to be like Derrick Henry's the reason why we lost this game. No, the defense is why we lost this game. It's going to be, why couldn't Lamar pull it out? Why couldn't Lamar be the MVP that we saw? Why did he throw these interceptions? Why did he do this? And like you said, in terms of Josh Allen, bro's playing with me, Zim, Mark, Sam, and Z-Bot as his offense, right? Like, I mean, no disrespect to Khalil Shakir. That boy's a dog. But, I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, 9 All-Pros versus Josh Allen and the firefighters. It's not even a comparison right now in who has the most pressure. Lamar Jackson, well, it's gonna be a dark day in Baltimore if this boy chokes this game away.
Is not even close. But I will say this: I think that Josh, the way that it's set up with Pro Bowlers and All Pros, it does a disservice to the talent. Like, if you gave any of these teams Dawson, like, if you gave him Knox and Kincaid, like, on any, like, my team or whatever, like, I'm cooking. Shakir, Keon Coleman, all that, like, bro, think about it. Their wide receiver 4 is Amari Cooper. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, like, it's not a weak roster at all, but the way that it's framed, like, real ball knowers know, like, this is an equal distribution thing. Josh Allen has all of these resources that he can go to, and my favorite OC probably in football. So it's not that it's weak. It's just the way that it's all framed. There is no Pro Bowlers. There is no All Pros or nothing like that. It's a good roster, and they got good real fast. But the masses, they're gonna eat it up. They're gonna go straight to the Ravens Pro Bowlers and All Pros.
You nailed it, Zim. I think the perception is what's the biggest difference here. And that's why I was kind of confused at how Lamar kind of ran away with what will be his 3rd MVP here, because the perception seems to be that the Ravens have twice as good of a team. They have 5 more All Pros than the Bills. However, the perception doesn't link back to Josh Allen overcoming less. So what seems to be framed here is that the pressure might be on Lamar because everyone assumes, based on the Pro Bowls, based on the All Pros, that these teams aren't evenly matched. I think, like you said, they are more evenly matched than meets the eye. I do think Baltimore is the superior team, but I think to say that it's leaps and bounds superior is probably inaccurate. Mark, your thoughts on all this? Because I'm kind of shocked here at how staunch everyone's belief is in the fact that all the pressure is on Lamar.
I'm going to go a bit like Disney on you guys, all right? So, to me, I don't think there's that much pressure. If Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are both confident, I think it's more pressure from the outside and talking heads like us or the media. I think if Lamar Jackson just ran over the Steelers and beat them 28-14, now they're going to the Bills, they know they can win. And the Bills are playing at home. They know they're a good side. They know that they have the history of like never winning one. This is probably the big chance to go and get one. I think there's no pressure on anyone. It's going to be a great game. I really don't think there's that much pressure on both quarterbacks because Lamar Jackson can now prove that he can win the playoffs, come back from a massive win. They know how to run the ball on teams. Their defense is getting much better. It's going to be like a physical matchup, you know. So and Josh Allen showed that you can take care of that. Who'd you beat last week? Denver or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, got to their meet like you took them down easy. So I don't think there's that much pressure really as it being if you're a competitor. If you're Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, you're going in. You both think you can win. It's maybe more the perception of the fans. That's just what I think.
The pressure comes from the past, though. How Josh Allen has lost versus how Lamar Jackson has lost. The Ravens lost because of Lamar Jackson. That's said and done. Josh Allen lost because Patrick Mahomes had 13 seconds and drove down the field and scored. I think the stigma behind it is what really makes the pressure. And I think that's why Lamar came out and had the season he had and why he's so confident. And the way that he talks, he knows he has something to make up from because the last time we saw him, they lost because he threw that interception at the end of the game. So that's why I think the pressure is so much more in the Lamar Jackson camp versus Josh Allen.
Yeah, Mark, that's a unique take because, man, I think the weight of the world is on both of these guys, and whoever loses it is going to get absolutely annihilated by everyone afterwards. Unless this game ends up being 48-45, I don't see how the losing quarterback of this game doesn't get cooked into oblivion. I will say, though, is Lamar's going to win the MVP. So if he loses to Josh Allen, then that's where I think the pressure gets even heavier for him because he'll walk across the stage getting the MVP after losing this game to the guy that, you know, was right there with him. And there was this was the biggest MVP debate that I've seen in forever. I really can't remember a comparison to it. I think that plays a lot into it. And then, of course, you have the Chiefs who what
am I saying? Let me say it again. Maybe more the pressure is I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to go into a shell and throw terrible passes like that. I don't see the pressure from that aspect. Maybe a bit more nervous.
You don't see the players bearing the pressure is kind of what you're saying.
No, not like it'll go out there, I'm a shit player right now. I can't pass. I can't throw. I don't know what I'm doing. I think it's going to be a great matchup with Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson.
Have you seen any of the Lamar pressers?
Yeah, I just saw the one where they asked him about the interception against the Bills the last time around.
He still remembers it.
He brought that up. Yeah. And somebody and he had a weird little, like a little smirk, like, yeah, like they keep on trying to show me that. Like he's thinking about that. I feel like I made this, and I got cooked for this, like on Twitter or something. I made this comment. Josh Allen's been more calm, cool, collect after his stuff. Go look at Lamar and his pressers and stuff throughout the whole season.
Lamar's locked in.
It's murder in his eyes.
He's locked in, bro.
I'm not saying that Josh Allen don't have that in him, but he's been more like deferring to like, yeah, like this is gonna be a good game coming up. They asked Lamar a similar question today. He said, yeah, like I don't meet up with none of them dudes in the off season. I ain't trying to be friends with none of them or not. I'm trying to tell you, this dude is moving like a murderer out here, and nobody's paying attention. The way that he's talking versus the way Josh Allen's like, man, Lamar's going. I mean, he's a great player. I have fun watching him. Lamar wasn't saying none of that shit today. He was like, yeah, like I'm not trying to be these dudes' friends. I'm trying to go out there and go win a bowl for real. Like straight up, whether I'm pretty sure Josh Allen feels that same way, but the energy is very different, bro.
I think Allen's gotten burned so many times that he just takes. I think the old cliche, one game at a time. I think that's where they're at. I just think that he's gotten burned so many times. He tries not to get too high or too low. But look if I'm running for 300 yards and I'm gonna win my third MVP. I mean, how could I not be talking the way Lamar's talking? I'd be feeling the same way. And if they go into Buffalo closing as a favorite, it'll be the first time the Bills have ever been a home underdog in the history of the franchise in the playoffs. So you're talking about a team worthy of that moniker there. I mean, these guys have earned every right, in my opinion, to be feeling the way that they're feeling. But like we just talked about, it'll all be put out on the table on Sunday afternoon. And that's why this is one of the more anticipated matchups in recent memory for a lot of reasons. With that said, we're going to dive into all of those reasons on the divisional round preview episode coming later on this week. Coming your way. You're going to want to tune into that one. We'll be previewing all 4 divisional games and of course, diving deep into the Bills-Ravens, which is bar none the best game of the weekend and could very likely be the best game of the entire postseason. So on your way out the door, hit that like button if you could, and really hit that subscribe button. That way we can notify you of when that episode comes out, and of course, the recap episode of all that goes down in the divisional round. And speaking of the divisional round, all of the odds are up on BetUS right now, and you can get in on the action using the promo code YouTube150. That'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next two after that. All right, that's going to do it for us here on the Wild Card Recap episode. Make sure to tune in to the divisional round preview. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, for Sam, Mark, Zim, and Zay, I'm your host, Z-Bot. Thanks so much for tuning in to the AFC North Roundtable, and we'll see you on the next one.
Steelers still suck. Steelers still